engine, as I understand it, is energy that is the result of all the multiverses coming into contact with one another or bumping up against one another. But more or less, it's what's left over as the multiverses exist. And so this, if I understand it correctly, is what feeds the power source of the Watcher's watchtower. In addition, Sam Alexander is looking at the Watcher and realizes that he seems to be waiting for something. He seems to be looking for something, and that he doesn't really know what it is. He doesn't really know what it is that the Watcher is hunting for. But then we see that as Sam Alexander gets closer to the Watcher, that various screens begin to light up. And this is when we get the
What the hell?
backstory of Uwachi the Watcher's
They're
race.
baptizing the
And what we
baby.
learn here is that Uwachi the Watcher
Oh, he dropped the
is
baby.
a member of one of the earliest races in the history of the universe. And that these races at that time, or this race at that time, existed to both chronicle and possibly to interact. But for the most part, they were a very proud race. And so what we see is that one of the individuals, a person named Innu, I believe, is not necessarily the leader of the Watchers, but is one of the more respected members of the Watchers. And what we see is that Ikor, or Ikor, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, who's the father of Uatu, was in a debate with Enmu. And Ikor says that it's their job, it's their goal as a more advanced race to reach out to other races, to help those races that are less advanced, to be guided properly, to take the next steps towards the direction of becoming a more advanced race, but to also be a better contributor to the universe as a whole. We see that Enmu is entirely against it. Enmu says that it's not their place to involve themselves in the goings on of races which are lower than them, of races which are irrelevant to them. We then see that Uwachi the Watcher speaks up. Uwachi the Watcher says that because the Watchers have such vast strength, that if they don't use it to help other people, if they don't use it to help other races advance themselves, then all their vaunted strength is simply just a sham. So what we see is that Innu is in effect he's outvoted. He's overruled by the council, and Icor's ideology stands that the Watchers are going to involve themselves in helping to assist other races. And the first race that they choose is a race called the Prosolicans, I guess is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure why that name had to be chosen. But what we see is that the Watchers appear to this race, bringing them a gift of nuclear energy. And we see the Watchers telling the Prosolicans that the nuclear energy will give them the opportunity to advance themselves technologically, and it'll move them light years ahead of where they currently are. And so what we see is that as this race is about exactly this way, this race is able to advance themselves. They're able to eliminate hunger and disease, and they're able to usher in a new era of what appears to be peace. And so due to the success of this, we see that the Watchers begin to expand their reach out further into the universe. They begin to move forward and lead in the direction of touching other races. But ultimately, what we see is that the efforts of the Watchers bring them back to the Prosolicus planet. And when they arrive, they realize that what had happened is that given the nuclear energy that had been a gift from the Watchers, that the Prosolicans had in effect destroyed themselves. They had devolved into a state of nuclear warfare and annihilated their entire race. And so from here, we see that Icor is very distraught by this. He is absolutely devastated by this. And so as a result, he comes to this realization that Imnu was wise, that Imnu was smart in making the decision that the Watchers should simply just chronicle events, but they should never interact. We see that Uatu tries to plead with his father and tell him that this is not the case, that this is simply just one example, but that other races still may share or still may flourish, they may still grow and expand, and not succumb to the same kind of fate that was left to the Proselytans. But we see that his father won't hear it, and that his father has taken the stance that the Watchers should not involve themselves in the goings on of anybody else. And so from here, we transition back to Sam Alexander. And what we see is that Sam Alexander begins to maybe express some kind of remorse for what it was that had happened to Uatu's father. He says that he doesn't really know what to say here. He says that he tries to start by saying that he's sorry, but it just doesn't really seem to comprehend it. It doesn't really seem to I guess maybe quell the kind of grief that Uatu the Watcher has, knowing that his race had effectively contributed to another race that he was putting himself out due to a gift that was given. In addition, he asks the Watcher what it is that he watches, how much of the observable universe is it that the Watcher looks at. And what we see is that each of the Watcher reveals to Sam Alexander the fact that he watches everything. And when we say everything, we mean absolutely everything, not just this reality, but all realities. In addition, the idea here is that the Watcher is looking for something, and what the Watcher is looking for is given to us by Sam Alexander when Sam Alexander comes to the realization that all these various images are from the story, and he sees that there is an African American race, which neither will be a future version of the past. This may not be everything, it may simply just be this one reality. But then we see that as Sam Alexander's helmet begins to warn him that the constant motion, the influx of energy from the multiversal engine would ultimately result in destruction. We see that he realizes that there's a set of actions. There's one of them that seems to be put upon every single time and every single reality is always the same and never changes. And this is the instance whereby his father has given nuclear energy to the Costa Ricans to be able to destroy himself. And so we see that this is what the Watcher is looking for. The Watcher is looking for something whereby this didn't happen, where this race didn't happen, and the energy of nuclear power that is given to him by the Watcher. And so this is what the Watcher looks for. This is what he's been hoping for all this time. And all this really does is give us this understanding that the Watcher has emotions, the Watcher has feelings. The Watcher, despite the fact that he doesn't voice them, despite the fact that his, for the most part, facial features or his expressions don't really change, that he is part of a race that is hungering for something, that he's hungering for a way to prove that his father was right, to prove that his father wasn't wrong in saying that the Watchers should relegate themselves to simply observing and never interacting. In addition, we see Sam Alexander begin to, I guess, move on to that, again, he didn't necessarily want to improve here. That he didn't want to play the role of somebody who didn't want to do it. And again, he thinks with the Watcher one last time, and he asked the Watcher if the Watcher knows where his father is, because one of the big character aspects of his father who was the planet. Again, this is something that we'll get into when we do a further explanation on the story of Nova, and we get into the role that Sam Alexander plays. But we see that Sam Alexander says the Watcher watches everything. Well, if the Watcher sees everything in this reality, then surely the Watcher knows where his father is. And he recognizes that the Watcher may not be able to tell him, the Watcher may not be able to tell him exactly where it is that his father's at. And so we see Sam Alexander accept the fact, and typically for the Watcher, if he can't tell him that Sam Alexander was he can't really be and so we see that Sam Alexander begins to move away. And then we see the Watcher tell Sam Alexander that his father is alive. And so for Sam Alexander, this is a big deal. Sam Alexander celebrates this fact. He celebrates this recognition that his father is very much alive. As the comic begins to come to a close, what we see here is, again, this element of the Watcher having remorse, of this element of the Watcher not being an individual who is devoid of any kind of emotion whatsoever when the Watcher takes out the trinket that had been given to him by Sam Alexander, the piece of ground where the X-Men of the Avengers were able to stop the Phoenix 5, and he puts it on a pedestal as a way to remind him, maybe as a way to keep it as a memento of somebody else who is concerned about it. This brings an end to looking at one issue that we do. And again, all of this drives to understanding of the Watcher to give us this idea of what the possible impact could be if the Watcher was hit in the local government, the original Sin issue number 1. So original Sin issue number 1 brings us into the original Sin storyline proper. And the way that Marvel has organized original Sin for it is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty interesting. What we see is that the groupings or the individuals who appear in the original Sin event are grouped in such a way where we see the most common individuals ranked first, along with the subsets, the subset teams or the teams that will form as a branch off of different superheroes and the order in which they will appear in. What we see here is that Wolverine, Black Widow, Captain America, Nick Fury, Thor, and Iron Man are the first ones to appear, and in fact, these are the ones that we will largely pick up with as the story begins. But then we see that the smaller groupings here, Black Panther, Ant-Man, and Emma Frost, Doctor Strange, and the Punisher, Bucky Barnes, and Moon Knight and Gamora, are going to be teams that are formed for particular tasks. Each individual team is going to perform a task that's been laid out in order to understand or to discover the mystery of this whodunit story of who it was that had killed the Watcher. And so what we see here as the story opens up, as the story progresses, is that we join up with various superheroes. We join up with Captain America, with Nick Fury, with Black Widow, and Wolverine. And all we really see here, for the most part, is them just having some witty banter, talking about the best steak they ever had, and so on and so forth. There's no real purpose here, except to maybe show us what these characters do or how they relate to one another when they're on their off time. But what we see here is that the phone of Captain America rings, and Captain America, as we see, is contacted by Thor. Now, the fact that we're only given one half of the conversation isn't really, it doesn't really take away from the effect. What we see here is that apparently Thor is very panicky on the other line. Thor is very excited, or at the very least, is speaking in such a way that it gives Captain America pause for concern. Captain America hangs up and tells everybody that they need to gather together, and they need to head out. They need to meet with Thor. Nick Fury chooses to stay behind. He elects to tell everybody that he will pay for dinner, that the tab will be on him. But Captain America responds by saying no, that this is such a significant event that Nick Fury needs to join. Nick Fury asks what it is that's so bad that Captain America requires his attendance, and Captain America says that this is on the moon. This is an event that's taking place regarding the moon, and Nick Fury says, okay, he finally agrees to travel with him. From here, we switch to the perspective of Wolverine and Black Panther, also Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, and Nick Fury, and we see that someone has murdered the Watcher. Somebody has killed the Watcher. And this is very important to me. And the reason why is because as Nick Fury is playing around, there's not very many people that can do this. And so what we see is this very crime scene investigation of sorts, where we see those individuals trying to understand what's going on here, figure out what's taken place. But because of the fact that the Watcher is so enigmatic to them, they don't really know how to proceed. They're asked if they should check for a pulse, but they don't even know if he ever really had a pulse to begin with. They don't know exactly how it is that he functions. The fact that he can be killed indicates his mortality, indicates that, for the most part, the fact that he was shot in the head and died, that he probably functions in the same way. But again, this isn't necessarily guaranteed. We also see that Tony Stark says that he's taking readings, energy readings of the Watcher, and realizes that there are no energy readings, that the Watcher is dead. What we also see here is that Iron Man says that the question has to be asked here, who could have done this? Who could have killed? Who could have shot the Watcher in the head? Was it Thanos? Was it maybe Black Widow? She says that given her expertise, her experience, both investigating death and being the person who's perpetrated multiple killings, that she's well aware of what the effect is on a person's shot. And this was most certainly a gun. From here, we see that Wolverine asks the question, what kind of a gun could do this? What kind of a gun could be powerful enough to kill the Watcher? What we also see here is that Nick Fury chimes in and says that the Watcher's eyes are gone. Now, this is extremely important here, and the reason why is because what we're going to see referred to as we progress through this comic again, especially in the first comic, is something that's referred to as something called the original sin. And we won't find out what this is until much later on. But what we see is that Nick Fury, investigating further, says that both of them were carved out, post-mortem most likely. And he asks the question, what kind of a person would take another person's eye? What we also see here is that Thor says that this is natural. This is total insanity for somebody to kill someone and take their eyes. And we also see that Wolverine says that there's really no sin for him to pick up here. There's no way for him to track it. The machines that were used were very good at their job, and so there's no scent left. From here, we switch to Captain America, and Captain America more or less takes all the information that we've gained to this point and throws it in such a way that we can understand it clearly and quickly. And he simply says that there's a killer on the loose, somebody armed with a gun that can kill the Watcher and also has all the weapons, or presumably also has all the weapons that were in the possession of the Watcher. What we also see here is Captain America talking to Nick Fury. And Captain America tells Nick Fury that he needs to get everybody on this, that he needs to get as many groups as he can, which includes S.H.I.E.L.D. and SWORD. Now, SWORD is a group that we haven't talked about. In fact, SWORD actually appeared during Joss Whedon's run of Astonishing X-Men. But SWORD stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. And SWORD is a counterpart to S.H.I.E.L.D., where S.H.I.E.L.D. exists to monitor earthbound threats, to monitor otherwise Board monitors extraterrestrial worlds and monitor other aliens to ensure that there's no kind of extraterrestrial threat against the planet Earth. And so we see that the fact that somebody could have the kind of technology or the kind of weapon that would be powerful enough to kill the Watcher is a weapon that needs or that may very well be owned by an extraterrestrial of some kind. And so we see that, of course, Captain America is coming forward to rule this concept out. But what we see here is that Nick Fury says that the number of people who even realized the Watcher was alive is a very small list, and the number of people who could successfully kill the Watcher is smaller still. And so he tells Captain America that not all the names on that list are bad guys, that not everybody that had the power to kill the Watcher is a bad guy, that it may lead to some friends. Captain America responds by saying that the Watcher was murdered, and that all he cares about is the truth. From here, we switch to Wakanda, we switch to Black Panther, and we see that Black Panther is talking to some unnamed individual in the shadows. And Black Panther, for the most part, just gives us this understanding that he's well aware of what's taken place, or at the very least, he understands the concept of what's gone on, that the Watcher has at some point been killed, and that the attempt is being made to find out who it was that killed him. But what we see here is that this individual is asking the question, why is it that this individual, that this unnamed person, is enlisting the aid of Black Panther? Why is he coming to Black Panther and asking for help? This person says that the Avengers, despite the fact that they are a formidable team, are sometimes just not cut out for everything. And this is an instance whereby they're not cut out for the task that's going to be necessary in order for this